You are watching a scene of pure celebration and jubilation outside the Los Angeles courthouse this afternoon. We're nearly 14 years after entering into a conservatorship, which has controlled every aspect of her life and her money. Britney Spears is finally free. The move by a judge caps off a stunning 5-month saga, which saw the pop star fight to take back control of her personal, medical, and financial decisions. For more on the significance of this decision, let's bring in Lisa Maccarley. She's a California probate and conservatorship lawyer, Christy Zarilla, staff writer at the Los Angeles Times, and Tim Chan, director at Rolling Stone and Billboard. Good evening to all three of you. Thanks for making time for CP24. Lisa, I want to start with you because you were in that crowd with the thousands of fans waiting for this verdict, this decision by the judge to come down. Tell me, were you surprised? And also, what was the environment like? What was the scene like?
Actually, I wasn't surprised at all. The petition was ready to be granted, and mostly because Britney herself had signed a document that she consented and wanted the conservatorship to be terminated. Frankly, I would have been more surprised, and sorry about my visitor, I would have been more surprised if the conservatorship had not been the termination had not been granted. So we were so excited and so happy when the confetti came out across the crowd, then the celebration really began.
This is your area of expertise in law. I guess, what was your impression as to how the proceedings actually happened today? Was it quicker than you expected it would be?
Actually, it was quicker than I expected it to be, because the last time it took several hours for the court to kind of go through all of the attorneys' opinions and get feedback. In this case, I'm sorry, but this time everybody was kind of queued up and ready for the termination to be granted. So I guess Brenda Penny just was no nonsense. Let's get it done and let the celebration begin.
Christy, this is a story that you've been reporting now for a long time, 14 years in the making. It all started in 2008 in what was supposed to be a temporary conservatorship. What was the turning point for you?
The turning point for me relative to what's going on with the conservatorship, I guess like a lot of people, I was sort of used to the conservatorship. It had just been around, and I knew there were some complaints about it. But what really brought it to, some would say, global attention is this Free Britney group. And they started covering Britney's Instagram in 2019, and then they started getting some insider tips. And that really broke things wide open, and it culminated in what happened today.
When you look at the years of court dates and proceedings, and finally Britney getting the opportunity, I believe it was June, to actually address the court and make some statements that I think really captured, not only fueled the Free Britney movement, but captured a lot more attention globally when she mentioned that she couldn't get pregnant because her body was essentially under control by her father in the conservatorship. How big of a role do you think that played as well in the conservatorship ending today, Christy?
Well, I think that public testimony, and at that point, the court was still allowing audio recordings so that people could listen in. So it was very public. Those statements she made that showed the extremes that she was willing to share, I think that really changed public sentiment, and it woke a lot of people up to the conditions that she's been operating under. And going from there, the glut of documentaries that came out that revealed even more through people who had worked in the operation around her. I think that was really just shocking to people who had kind of filed Britney away mentally.
No question, the Free Britney movement was powerful. Tim, how big of a role do you think it played in empowering fans, empowering Britney even to take that stand, to be able to address some of the very private, very dire concerns that she had about this conservatorship?
There's no doubt in my mind that was a huge turning point, because for a long time, everything was just sort of rumored or hearsay. You would hear things that she's unhappy, but then you would hear other things that she's doing fine, she just wants to be left alone. So hearing the story from her own words for the first time was such a huge turning point, and it really empowered fans to continue to step up their efforts to quote unquote free Britney. Up until then, fans weren't sure if what they were doing was helping or hindering the movement. But when they heard her voice for the first time and heard what she had to say, it really gave fans more motivation to continue this campaign.
Lisa, I'm curious, was there at any point, like let's say in the last year, any kind of arguments that were valid to keep this conservatorship in place?
Absolutely not that I ever heard. I was very displeased to find out that Britney was deprived of an attorney of her own choice. I think that would have made a big difference in terms of the longevity of this conservatorship. But from the moment that I reviewed the court records and found out what had happened to her back in 2008, I was very clear that she never belonged in a probate conservatorship ever. So I'm glad it's over.
How much do you think that the tabloids and the public persona played into this going in the first place? And again, this was supposed to be a temporary situation when it seemed like she was at the height of a mental crisis, Lisa.
Right. So in terms of the tabloids, there's no doubt in my mind, if you're going through a divorce and you have small children and you have all of this public pressure, I am sure that for a very young 27-year-old woman who had very little experience in terms of dealing with the real world, as it were, there's no doubt that that pressure really led to, and I wouldn't call it a breakdown, but I just think that she acted out of frustration, anger, trauma. She was being traumatized by the family law court when her little babies were being taken away from her. So I think all of these factors need to be investigated, and really we have to see the world from Britney's perspective. She was too young to be put through such a difficult situation.
At the time, she was in her mid-20s. Next month, Britney becomes a 40-year-old woman. Christy, did her lawyer at any point today kind of give an indication of what comes next? There is another court date scheduled. Did he talk about what's going to happen there and what kind of legal pursuit he might go take against Jamie Spears?
Well, her attorney, Matthew Rosengart, did speak at a press conference after the hearing, and he made it extremely clear that whatever happens next is going to be Britney's choice. Britney runs the show now. She is a free, independent woman. As far as moving forward with any kind of investigation of Britney's dad, Rosengart said that he believes it deserves investigation. He noted that he doesn't have prosecutorial power like he used to. And he pretty much said that anything moving forward is going to be Britney's choice. Now, she had said at a previous hearing that she wanted her dad, basically, she wanted to press charges against him. So, I don't know how soon, if ever, any of that will come into play. As far as what's going to happen next month, it's they're looking at making it an accounting hearing where they're looking at tying up the finances coming out of the conservatorship. And she does still have the temporary conservator around to help her, the guy who replaced her father, to help bring those loose threads together.
Tim, to Christy's point, Britney's attorney made it very clear today what's up next for Britney is up to one person, and that's Britney. She refused to take the stage. She didn't want to perform anymore in Las Vegas if she was under this conservatorship. She said she would never take the stage again if she was kept under this legal arrangement. So that begs the question, as someone who follows her, perhaps even a fan yourself, what do you think is next for Britney Spears?
Well, I'm actually in Las Vegas right now, where I'm coming to you from tonight. And this is where she had a very successful residency for 4 years. And she was scheduled to start another residency, Domination, but that's when she actually pulled out of it, citing issues with her father. We now know that she did not want to perform as long as her father was still in charge of the conservatorship. Now, Britney hasn't put out an album since 2016, and she hasn't had any indication that she's recording new material. So for fans, I think they just really want her to be happy. If that means touring again or putting out new music, amazing. If that means being an amazing mom to her kids, I think the fans would be happy for that as well. What's worth noting is that Britney's longtime manager, Larry Rudolph, resigned over the summer. So as far as we know, she does not currently have management, though she still has a publicist and she's still signed to a record deal. So anything is possible. But like everyone said, the final decision is up to her.
And Britney Spears and her fiance Sam wearing those Free Britney shirts today. Tim Chan, Lisa Maccarley, Christy Zarillo, thanks to all three of you for your time tonight. I appreciate your coverage on this story.
Thank you.